pawn structure happens. So sometimes they go knight f6, there, b3, b6, bishop b2, bishop b7, g3, g6, bishop b2, bishop b7, castles, castles, and c4, c5, e3, e6, d4, d5. For the pawn extension right here, what do we do in this case as white? So the question is, does white do anything with the pawns or not? So takes on d5 was like maybe I thought myself for like a unspoken rule. It's like maybe takes on the center pawn, not the other pawn. But the reason why, yep, just they can make your point if you want to. But the thing is, like, I want to clarify the center, and it'll allow us to have more development.
Well, maybe the answer is already in the question you want to clarify. I think that you need to answer yourself what kind of structure do you want. So, what do you want? Because here, I mean, there's many openings like this where two pawns are standing on against each other. Ask yourself, do you want to play hanging pawn structure? Are you feeling comfortable? So if you want to play the hanging pawn structure, yes, then you play, I guess, you start with d takes on c5 because you are having one tempo up, so you play d takes on c5, yeah? D takes, b takes, you take on d5. Probably he has to take with the pawn, otherwise the pawn on c5 is a weakness. And then you try to, get to this pawn on c5, like knight c3, rook c1, etc. Are you having any advantage? No, probably not. But there's some practical chances. Maybe it's the problem is you're not giving any choice for your opponent, because if you take on c5, he is pretty much forced to enter the hanging pawn structure. So maybe it's a bit more interesting actually to play c takes on d5. All right, because there's more choices for you. And now after c takes on d5, again, black has to make a very, very big decision. Because is he going for equality or is he going for unorthodox pawn structure? Let's say he takes with the knight, right? He wants to go for equality. I think you play this position as some sort of a Catalan. Okay, queen e2 unfortunately doesn't work. There's bishop a6, unfortunately, but I don't know. I wanted to play, in my ideal scenario, queen e2, rook d1. And then, one of the typical Catalan ideas after c takes on d4, eventually you exploit the weakness of c6. I guess you know it, right? The bishops get traded, and then somehow the knight on d4 is cemented on c6 by b4, b5, etc. But how can you achieve that? Maybe queen c1 here, but the queen doesn't really belong at the c file, so I'm not really sure. No, maybe this is not such a great idea. So we go back. And also there's to consider that after c takes on d5, he can take with e pawn. No, then you drop the bishop. Yeah, this is also what... Yeah, but now the order the moves is a bit strange because you still can get to the hanging pawns, but also you can try to play this like knight c3, knight e5, keep the tension and play against the bad bishop on b7.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm hoping that, looking forward to maybe nicer pawn position like this one.
You take with the knight. This is brilliant for you.
So this is what I'm looking for, is to vanish away.
Nobody's going to do it. Nobody's going to play c takes on d4 unless he is like totally desperate.
Yeah.
Normally, black wants to play c4, b5.
I see.
He wants to do this, establish pawn majority, or he's waiting for you to define the structure. Okay, c4 here probably is going to be a bit early.
Yeah.
It's too early. I think there's knight e5. There's some issues.
Yeah.
Like the pawn on c4. So I think it's smart to play like this.
Yeah.
If you can get this position, because you keep the tension and you still can reserve the option to take on c5 and go for those hanging pawns.
Yeah. So
right. So this makes sense, but I do believe that after c takes on d5 here, Knight e5 is very good. And this leads us to the original question, should we even do this?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Right, so we go back and we think that maybe we can enter the hanging pawn structure from the white's perspective.
Yeah.
But again, what move to make? So it makes sense to start with something like knight c3.
Okay, this one.
Why is this? Because after knight c3, I don't think the opponent can really repeat the position, because if he plays knight c6, we simply take on d5, and now he can't take with the d5 and the knight, unless he sacrifices the queen. Knight e5, queen d5, knight e5. I don't think it's very good here. Takes, queen d5, knight e5, and queen g2. It probably doesn't work. It's a very common idea, but I don't think it works here. So knight e5, f3, and probably Stockfish is going to hate it. I mean, there is some compensation. I'm not going to argue, but black is never going to win this. Never, ever. Right? So that's why it's a fun line. But if black doesn't do this, then after knight e5, he's in trouble. Actually, you could check my game against David Howell. David Howell against me, we played like 10 years ago. I think it should be available in ChessBase. So after knight e5, the problem is that there's 13th move. 13th move.
So okay, that's the 13th move. It's like a
So after knight e5, he can't do it. He can't sacrifice the queen.
Yeah, this one is can't.
So and after something like queen d6, you already, I guess, take on c6 or take on c5, and something is hanging.
Yeah.
Maybe just take on c5. I don't know exactly how.
Well, this is a pure.
You need to find the right orbit moves.
Yeah, it's a.
Maybe even take on c5 immediately. I mean, after queen d6, just take on c5 immediately.
Yeah.
Not knight c6. Just take on c5.
Yeah, this one.
This looks very good.
That makes sense.
And black is busted.
Yeah, definitely. Looks like it.
It seems like that. He can't really do this. So actually this knight c3 is pretty smart. But again, why? It's the why we understand. And after knight c3, knight c6, c takes, we get to this position, which we wanted, c takes, where we reserve the option to go for the hanging pawns, where we play keep more tension with rook c1. We toy with these ideas, hanging pawns, or we really dream about getting the IQP. And if he doesn't play knight c6, if he goes back into something else, he might get to the hanging pawn structure himself. Let's say c takes on d4, do exactly to us what we want to do to him. He takes. Okay, now again we have a choice of knight e4, right? Again, it's not so simple. So he has the same issues. So probably also for him it's smart to start not with c takes on d4, but d takes on c4. So he forces matters more. So now I guess we have to take with a pawn. Now he takes on d4. We play e takes on d4. And whatever, knight c6. Yeah, and how to evaluate this position? Well, that's a very big question, of course. So you have a strong center. He has some counterplay. It's eternal fight. Who knows? It just depends how well do you understand this position. Maybe there's some d5 at some point, or you play some queen a4, rook d1, rook c1, d5. D5 has got to be the key idea here.
Yeah.
I mean, you switch on the engine. I think the engine is going to give you some advantage. It feels like an advantage to me, to be honest.
So.
But a lot of people might play like this because they want to clarify the situation in the center.
Let's see, Stockfish 2.1. Value here once this comes up, and
I don't think it's gonna say it's equal. I don't believe it. Yeah, it's definitely advantage.
So,
yeah, because you have the center. You have the center. That's why. Oh yeah, there's even 95 you beat it. Okay.
Yeah, 95 was advantage.
95 take on c6 and d5. Yeah, very precise, very concrete.
Yeah. Definitely. So that answers that, I think. But it's just,
but a lot of people play like this from black.
Yeah, that's.
So they are entering the hanging pawn structure deliberately.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure if you could have done it immediately.
Yeah.
With the first move, c takes on d5. I think c takes on d5 10th move is inaccuracy, to be honest. It feels you're not ready.
This one isn't accurate.
Exactly because of 95.
Yeah, 95.
So that's why knight c3 is more important.
Okay.
I hope that you are not afraid to play any hanging pawn structures.
No, not.
Yeah.
So
This doesn't feel right.
yeah.
Because now your bishop on b2 is slightly weird. I mean, of course you could play knight c3,
Mm-hmm.
but there's going to be mass trades. It just doesn't look right. Take, and something like knight e7. It's just not right.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you ask yourself, what did you do to get something out of this position from your opponent? Not much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's why we go back to this 10th move, knight c3. The knight c3 is a brilliant move because it gives choices. It asks choices from the opponent. This is what you want to learn to incorporate in your game, that you're never relieving the pressure too early, that
Mm-hmm.
you invite him, you understand these positions, of course, but he wants to clarify what's happening in the center.
Mm-hmm.
So he blinks and he gives up.
Hey, check this video out to make sure that you get more important information to bring your chess to the next level.